Hey, Dad.
We'll be starting in about 5 minutes. So, Patrick, how are things going in Searcy, Arkansas?
They're going great. The beauty is of this business is you can build it from anywhere. And we picked up kids from summer camp we hadn't had for 2 weeks, and picked them up on Friday and came. Been in Arkansas with Alicia's parents since Friday, and um, been working doing diplomas and making money here. So you can do it anywhere, which is nice.
I know when your kids come back from Arkansas, we got to deprogram them from their new accents.
Well, just like you when you get back from Chicago.
Oh, right. Yeah, right. Yeah. When they
But
come back from Arkansas, Trevor, it is.
Dad,
It takes
the
a
thing
while.
is, I know I'm pretty sure right now I sound country.
Not really.
Um, I'm pretty sure I sound country, which uh, I was working with Liam one time, and I was like, why did we need to change the way you're saying the words, because everything's like there's no G at the end of things. It's getting, going, you know. And then I heard myself talk. I'm like, okay, it's not his fault. His dad, but I am the kid that my dad did have to have a true story. My dad, I remember us going to lunch one time, and I was in high school, and my dad's like, okay, you're saying our last name wrong. So I got coached up on how to say the family name properly after, I don't know, 17 years of living.
So
So
how did you say it? Let everyone know how you said it.
I don't know. I don't remember the difference.
Orander,
I remember you
Orander,
telling me, I'm like, it all sounds the same to me.
Orander. So Orander.
I think I was saying Orinder, and he wanted Orinder. It was a different in pitch,
Or
I
render,
guess.
or
Or
render,
render.
like
Yes.
in surrender, right?
Yes.
But
We
they
don't say
call me
surrender.
Orange.
We don't say
Orange.
surrender around.
Yeah,
Patrick,
yeah.
you said it wrong again. You slipped right into it, man.
Does it matter? Does tomato? It's,
I heard. Well, I was in San Antonio, Trevor. We were on the boat tour. And the guy said, "You know the definition of the plural of y'all?" And of course, I had not heard this years ago. He said, "All y'all."
All y'all. That's right.
It's so cute to hear my grandkids use the word y'all this and y'all that. It's my father is from West Virginia, and he was a real hillbilly, and he used the word y'all all the time. We just laughed at him. Now I got grandkids that say it. Patrick, I'm really thrilled that we have you and Trevor on because Trevor is in our hierarchy, is a $500,000 earner, soon to be six. He made $100,000 last month in the business. He's a second generation Primerican. His dad, Gary Bush, has been in our business forever, and just really one of my favorite speakers in our company. And Patrick, kind of tell your story, and then your discussion with Trevor, and how we all got to go through that phase. And then Trevor, talk about how, after Patrick mentioned it, how you came to the conclusion of providing value and willing to get paid for it, and knowing and not being apologetic about getting paid. So, Patrick, why don't how that all got started in conversation with Trevor, and then we'll get to Trevor.
All right. First off, some of you guys might not know Trevor. Trevor Bush is in our hierarchy.
San Antonio.
San Antonio, out of San Antonio. He's second generation like me. And he's an incredible businessman, and he makes money, in this business. And he's always finding ways to make money. And he wants to build a family business with his kids. He's doing that. He made $104,000 in the month of May. His income, he's on track to, I don't know, you tell me, it'll be at least over $500,000 by the end of the year. I'm not quite sure where you're rolling 12. You're close to $500,000 right now, Trevor, but Trevor makes money. And I'm one of those guys that Primerica is an environment where you get to be around people who are always helping you make money, have a different mindset. You take a look at who you run with. That's what your income level is going to be. And I'm trying to hang around with people that make more money than me because how they think is different. And I'm a guy, even when having Bill Orinder as a father, For a while, I did this business as a ministry. I come from youth ministry, right? And I had issues with making money, helping people out. And Trevor said something to me a little over a month ago.
Oh, hold on a second, Patrick. I'm going to stop you and start you.
Yeah.
What issue you had issues with making money? What were those issues?
I really think, well, I had a ministry mindset about what we do, where, well, it doesn't matter if I get paid doing this, I'm doing a service to this other person. Okay. That's a ministry mindset. I'm doing this, to build up treasures in heaven, not here on earth. And well, that's not what Primerica is about. Primerica is here about you getting paid like anything else. And I had to correct that. And it took me a while to correct that mindset where I'm here to help people. I'm here to make money, because I'm here to make money. I'm going to help a whole lot more people with that mindset than just the mindset just to help people. And Trevor's one of those guys that I model my mindset after. And I'd called him up and I was getting some help with some client things. And he showed me some strategies. Hey, you didn't know you can make money doing X, Y, and Z. And he kind of could tell that I was hesitant to make money from assisting these clients this way, because they're going to be greatly benefit. Huge. Hundreds of thousands of dollars difference in income for them in retirement. And he said, Patrick, he goes, you deserve to get paid for the work you do. We deserve to get paid for the work we do. And man, that stuck with me. It resonated with me deep inside my heart. And it added to my mindset of, man, I absolutely deserve to get this. They're lucky to have me in their life, to give them this information to help improve their lives. Whether recruiting and building, or whether it's working with a part-time person or a client, a money-making mindset is going to benefit everybody else far more than the ministry mindset I had about what we do. And I say ministry, it's like, well, whatever happens, at least I made a difference for a person. No, I'm going to find a way during this call to make money helping this person. Now, I'm not just going to let this person get a free phone call. If I can roll over money, if I can get them in the business, if I can increase their life insurance coverage, I'm going to find a way in this situation to make money if I'm talking to them, because my time is worth value. My knowledge is worth as valuable for income as well. And Trevor, with his words, cemented that in my brain, because I think a lot of people I've talked to, especially one rep I've talked to in the last week, benefited from that conversation from Trevor that I had.
Patrick, I appreciate that. Trevor, can you relate to what Patrick was saying? And if you can, what started making the difference for you to come to that conclusion? When was it? How long have you had it? What were your struggles early on about making money? Because you have a ministry mindset also, because you spent 2 years in the mission field. Trevor, let us know how you came about having that money mindset, and what is that money mindset? What do you say to yourself regarding that?
Well, I have to admit, I appreciate Patrick's kind words. I never had the challenge that Patrick had, right? I was in the ministry before. I'm very service oriented, but from day one, I came here to make money. I remember I sat down, I was filling out my licensing application, and I was a young man, and my mother was the one who looked at me and she said, Trevor, don't ever forget why you are here. You are here to make money. And so can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, perfect.
So my Zoom just popped up and wanted me to confirm whether or not I was speaking English or Spanish. And so I just wanted to make sure I wasn't speaking in Spanish to you guys. But it was my mother. She said, you are here to make money. And that just resonated with me from an early point in my business. I did go through some of those challenges like Patrick had, where I felt that it was inappropriate to tell people how much money I was making as I was helping them. But honestly, for me, that's transition. I have no issue telling my clients how I get compensated. And technically on the security side, we're supposed to. So when I meet with the client, I think it's a great recruiting tool. If I meet with the client and I help them reorganize and roll over their IRA and set up some investment accounts and do a life insurance policy for them, I have full disclosure, and I tell them, because they ask me, Trevor, what are you going to charge us? And I say nothing, but let me show you how I get paid. And I will tell them, hey, when I do this life insurance policy for you, I'm going to make about $1,600. When I roll over this this IRA for you, here's how it's going to work, and I'm going to make $3,100, whatever it is. And I think in Primerica, we want that to be almost a dirty secret how much money we make as we help them. And what I found is I've never had somebody look at me and go, I think that's offensive that you're getting paid for helping me, right? In reality, they appreciate what I did for them, and they know how much money I make. And so I started disclosing that. But so I have a great relationship with my clients. They understand how much I'm getting paid as I help them. And that's been good for my business. But when going back to my mother, when she talked about the idea that you're here to make money and help people along the way, right? You can't make money unless you help somebody, and those two things go hand in hand. I believe there's no evidence to support that somebody's going to make it financially if I'm not helping them, right? That's just the way that I think about it. Like, if they're on their own, they're probably not going to make it, and so it's worth having me involved in their life, to the point where when I talk about how much they make, they recognize that, because I believe it first. And I've never had a challenge. I had a guy the other day that I met with, and he's with another advisory firm. He's got about $1 million with them. And it's an insurance company parading around as an investment company, right? And so they have this really cheap advisory service that they have, and ours was more expensive. And we began to talk, and I laid out to him the challenges with his portfolio that he had and what we could do and how great our system was. And I said, but look, we need to talk about the cost, because what you have is really inexpensive, and ours is going to be a little bit more expensive. And he looked at me and said, Trevor, I don't care what the cost is. He said, if you're more expensive, that's fine. He said, in the first 30 minutes we've been talking, you've created more value than this other guy has ever created for me in my life. And he said, I don't even care what the cost is. I don't care what the fees are. Let's just get these accounts set up and moving. And I moved $1 million. It was $1.2 million, and he didn't want to know. I started telling him what I was. He's like, I don't know. You're more expensive. I don't even care. And so I think as you're open with your clients and you help them understand, number one, it would be a great recruiting tool when they see how easy it was and how much money you made, right? But that full disclosure adds true value to what you're doing, and they recognize that it's really a win-win situation. I have clients that are concerned that I'm not getting paid, right? Like, Trevor, I don't ever pay you when you come here, and I have to remind them I'm getting compensated handsomely for this. And I'll add one other thing to the money-making mindset. Look, my wife is drop dead gorgeous, and my children are amazing and so much fun to be around. And if I'm going to leave them for any period of time, it has got to be profitable. It has got to be something that's going to make money, that's going to bless our lives and progress us forward in the goals that we have. Otherwise, there's no reason for me to spend any time away from them. So if I'm going to be on a kitchen table, I'm going to make money. I'm going to find a way to help them in some form or fashion that's going to make money. And that's just the belief I have, right? Like I enjoy being with my family, and if I'm going to leave them, it's got to be profitable to me.
Well, I'm sure you've recruited people that they don't have that money mindset yet. And I talk about that, and then talk about this quote that I've lived by: money is an issue in the absence of value. People are not hearing you when you talk about the value you bring. And yes, you might make $5,000 off of them, but they're going to make millions of dollars off of you.
That's exactly right. When you recognize the value, and I have a very investment strong business. I make a lot of money on investments. If I can make a 1% difference over somebody's investment time frame over a 20-year period, if we can increase the returns by even 1%, it will be hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions, in difference. And so once you help people understand that value, there's not a challenge, right? They're only concerned about what it costs when there is no value. And so I think at Primerica, we've got to spend a little more time helping these clients understand the value that we actually bring to their table. And I think as we do that, our confidence grows. A lot of people struggle just with money and in general, and understanding and controlling money. They've had such a negative relationship with money for a long period of time that as we recruit somebody, It's a little bit, it's a little bit nerve-wracking for them to understand what they're going to make, how they're going to help somebody, what that person's going to pay. And we're so used to trying to get the cheapest deal, and the cheapest is not always the best. And so you've got to create that value. And I spend time, Patrick and I talk a lot, and I spend time creating value that has nothing to do with our Primerica business. Like, I meet with clients. I'll teach you guys something that that I've been using with a bunch of my clients recently. I don't know about you guys, but I've noticed a lot of families that are living multi-generational, right? So you go in a home and you have a family with kids and their parents are living with them. Has anyone seen that? Right? We're beginning to see that more and more because it's a little bit more expensive. Well, did you know in the state of Texas that you can get a homestead exemption for the most qualified person? Meaning if they have a parent living with them who's over 65, they can get a homestead exemption for that of over 65 on their house and reduce their property taxes by thousands of dollars. And I know not everyone's from Texas, but in Texas, we pay a lot of property taxes. So that's just a value I create, right? So when I'm with my client, I'm always trying to create value in other areas that don't have anything to do with Primerica. If I meet with them and their mother lives with them, I show them how to submit a document to their county tax appraiser and end up saving money along the way. And when you do simple things like that create value in their lives in other areas, they immediately transfer the value you've just brought to them to the investments and the insurance and the other things that they're doing. They appreciate what you've done. And so I'm always looking for ways to add that value and help them recognize the value that I'm bringing to their life. Advice on simple things along the way that have nothing to do with our business. They'll begin to ask you those things. And you just have to always look for opportunities to add that value. And once you do that, your relationship with them is strengthened, that bond grows, and they begin to trust you and recognize what you're bringing to the table. I share this story. I had a client call me a couple of years ago, a young client, and they're like, "Hey, Trevor, our washing machine broke and we don't know what to do." And I kind of chuckled for a minute and paused, and I thought, wow, like, look at the advice they're calling me for. Do you think they thought that I added value to their life? They didn't know what to do. And I'm like, well, you need to go buy a washing machine, right? We have an emergency fund. Let's take $800 from there. You need to go buy a washing machine because you can't go without washing clothes. You have 2 kids. And they were on a conference call, and literally the husband goes, "See, babe, I told you he would say that. Look, I knew I was right." And so there's just this great value that I'm adding. So as I'm helping them with their retirement planning and their life insurance, they don't ever question what it costs because I've added value to their life. And that's what I believe. I believe there's value I can bring to their table. If I'm not there, they're probably not going to make it financially. They're probably going to end up in a hole that they shouldn't be in. And I'm their way, that light at the end of the tunnel that can help them get out. And I'm not ashamed for what I get paid for doing that. And I think in Primerica, we need to be more bold about that, communicating the value we bring and the money that brings to our family.
I think you bring a great word there, ashamed. For some reason, we measure our value by just the information we give. And then we measure ourselves by, I must be a pious person because I'm not money motivated like the rest of those. It's not about money to me. We dig ourselves into a hole with that, Trevor, don't we? And then Patrick, comment in after he finishes on all this so far. Trevor?
Yeah, so it's interesting. If you think about the last major decision you made in your life, it probably had everything to do with money. Like, money's involved in all these decisions that we make. And really, for me, the vision, Bill, is to eliminate money from my life, where I can make the best decision for my family and not ever think about the consequences and not ever think about the money. That's really my ultimate goal, is to just be in a position where money just doesn't matter. And we live in a different universe, right? If you go to church and you start talking to somebody about a new job and you ask them what they get paid, they back up like, "Are you kidding? Like, we don't talk about money. It's inappropriate to talk about money." And it's really not. We need to change that mentality. We need to be talking about money on a regular basis, in terms of putting ourselves in that position where money doesn't control our lives, where we have more control over money. I met with a client that I go to church with. He called me and we met. I've known him for years, and he said, we sat down and talked, and I gave them some advice and helped them kind of get on the road to getting debt free. Right. I showed them how they could do that. he looked at me, he said, Trevor, you know, the truth is I've been married for 25 years. And in those 25 years, my wife and I have only had one argument. And he goes, now we've had that argument about 150,000 times. It's only one argument, and it's about money. And that's really what happens. We don't even talk about money with our spouses, with our children. And at Primerica, we've got to change that conversation to where money is not something we're ashamed of, that we talk about it, that we tell people, you know, to be empowered when it comes to money. And that's the value that we bring, is helping them change the way they think about money. And that's the beauty of Primerica, right? Along the way, we're going to sell term insurance because we believe in that protection. We're going to set up investments for them and retirement planning. Those are the two main things we're going to do. But ultimately, what we're doing is helping people change the way they think about money and talk. Every Friday, I write down in my planner. Every Friday, I write down my liquid net worth. What does my total cash look like if I took it all and went to Belize to live on the beach the rest of my life? How much money could I just sweep out of my accounts and go? What liquidity do I have? And for most people, that's a scary thing outside of Primerica and in Primerica, right? And I promise you, my numbers don't look like yours, Bill. But I'm in a very blessed place because I focus and pay attention. And I realize that once I begin to do that and not be afraid of the money and focus on and just look at it, and I just jot down I've got 8 different accounts, so I got money in 8 different places, and I just total up those 8 figures every single Friday. And it's just opened my eyes to understanding where I'm going, what I'm trying to accomplish, and we can't be ashamed of it. We got to be focused on becoming financially independent and eliminating money decisions from our life.
Patrick, you want to on all that?
Well, what Trevor's talking about is an incredible mindset, and some guys is learned, some guys is more inherent, like him. I'm somebody I had to learn it. I remember I told Alicia this story when the boys were gone. We were driving, and of course, when your kids aren't there, you talk about your kids, right? And we were talking about. I told her how much money we're making this month, and which is always exciting. You got love language. By the way, you want to turn your wife on, guys, go make some money, because it's security is so many things. But I was telling her about the time where it was about 15 years ago, and I was taking the boys to breakfast on a Sunday morning to give Alicia a little bit of a break, and Liam, my oldest at the time, he was sitting in a child seat in the back. He's big enough to, to kind of, to talk and converse. And he goes, "Hey, Daddy." I said, "Yeah, buddy." He goes, I talked to Mommy. I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Mommy says you need to make more money." And I was like, "She did say that?" He goes, "Oh yeah, she said that." And I'm sure what it was is that I'm sure she was going by the bank, probably either to get cash or do something. And she probably said, "Your dad needs to make more money." Right. And I don't blame her for that at all. But, for me, when it comes to making money and what things that he's talking about, the value provided is huge. Like, just to tell you a story, and this is how I think this plays out with a lot of us. I talked to one of our reps last week. He's a guy he's got a ministry mindset. He's pastors several churches, amazing man of God, amazing in this business. And he just kind of said, "Hey, Patrick, I met with these clients. They had $198,000 in a stock account, and it was zero fee for them, and it's made a pretty good return. So I didn't want to mess that up." And I said, "Hold on a second, now I would not have had this conversation with him like this if it weren't for Trevor. It's just, whatever he said, it triggers something in me." But I said, "I completely disagree with you. They're not fine being there." He's like, "Why?" I go, "Because it's not how much you make, it's how much you keep." Right? They only own a couple of stocks in that 198,000. Okay. They don't know what they have. They're 73 years old. The most important thing they need is you. And the reality is, because that money was in a Merrill Edge account. You think Merrill Edge guys give a rip about these clients? Not at all. And I said, "Man, the reason why he did not talk to him, because he didn't think he was ultimately worth the money he was going to make to get him out of that situation." Well, they're fine. Zero fees. It's not about the fees. You just brought a great point, Trevor. It's one of those things where I hear about people having lower fees. I realize something's not right. It's almost like if someone has, they're trying to sell you a brand new Mercedes, but they're going to sell it to you for 15 grand when it's worth $80,000. Something's not right. When stuff's too cheap, something's not right. And I really believe by having a money motivation, I'm going to be way more effective for that client. I'm going to share them more ideas, provide them more value, like what Trevor talked about, than if I'm just there to share some ideas and I don't think I'm going to get paid on it. Right. And so, and for me, one of the guys I hang out with, I know Trevor hangs out with the same guy, is James Watkins. James is in our hierarchy, absolute stud and a half. The guys, work on NSD. He's going to explode to SNSD, and he's got a dialed in money making mindset. And I've learned a lot from talking to him, and in having a conversation with him. He made a comment when playing football, and you've heard this from a lot of these, Hall of Fame pro football players. They hate losing more than they love winning. Right. And I had a moment back in April financially where, man, I felt a crunch, right? Where my wife said, hey, we need $9,000 like tomorrow. Okay. And I'm like, well, this sucks. I had that money, but I don't want to, I don't want it. I got a short-term fund. I got a long-term savings. I did not want to touch any of that. And it pissed me off. I was like, this just, I hate my wife saying that we need to have this because it was like a summer camp deal. We had private school tuition, a medical bill popped up, and something, and then our mortgage payment. She's like, because she's CEO of the house. She handles the money side. I just deliver it. And at that moment, I realized this is a feeling I don't ever want to have again. Mm-hmm. This feeling of, yeah, I can write it, but I don't want to touch stuff. I don't want to spend that money. I want to be putting more money into these things. And I went on a money making just mindset where I hate that feeling so much. It's more, that motivates me more than the joy of having a big net worth. I don't want to go back there again. I don't want to experience that again. I hated that. I hated that sensation. I've had it way too many times in my life. And it was on one of those, as God is my witness moments that I'm not going to put I'm not going to have this type of conversation with my wife again. And since then, I've made $35,000. I got another $17,000 coming here next week. So since that conversation, I've been, almost $50,000 of income because I got ticked off that I don't ever want to be in that situation again. And I realized I'm not a guy who is motivated by moving to pleasure. I'm a guy who's motivated by moving away from pain. And was flip my world upside down. And so, that combined with understanding my value that Trevor talked about, it has been a $50,000 boost in income plus to what I'm doing and how I talk to people. Makes a complete difference.
Yeah. You can't do that in corporate America. Right.
No.
You can't just say, man, I need to make an extra 50 grand this month. I'm going to go work more hours and make that happen. It can't be done. Bill, I want to make another comment about this idea of people who treat Primerica as a ministry, because this really is a ministry, right? We really do save people's lives. We change people's lives, but in the ministry, right? And I'm a faith-based person, right? I dedicated 2 full years as a young man to teach the gospel of Jesus Christ in Central America. My son has been doing that for the last 2 years. We actually fly out in 2 weeks to pick him up. My other son will leave in about 6 months and be gone for 2 years, right? We believe in the ministry, right? But I'll tell you that there's 2 things that God needs from us. He needs our time and he needs our money, right? Like, not that he needs it, right? But those are the 2 ways that we can really give and we can serve. We can physically go and serve and do things within his kingdom, but we can also give money that enables other people to serve, right? And so we've got to have this mentality that I want to become financially independent because it actually allows me to minister in a greater way, right? You think about all of these people on this call, I promise you, and the biggest check I write every year is my tithing, right? That for me is the biggest check I write every single year. But I promise you that Bill Arender has given more money to tithing and charitable organizations and God's work that I ever have, because he makes more money, right? And so you can become financially independent and really impact ministry in that way. There's nothing wrong with making money now to be able to serve in other ways down the future. And so I think God needs financially independent men and women who can then give of their time and their money to help build his kingdom and spread his gospel. So I think there's a good correlation there, but it's not either or. He doesn't want just your time. He doesn't want just your money. He wants both. because that's when you're all in, and that's what Primerica allows you to do. You can have freedom. That true freedom is time and money to do whatever you want, whenever you want, however you want, and bless anyone's lives. And so we need not be ashamed of making money and becoming successful, because it allows us to give back even more, 10 times what we earn and what we do.
You know, when I was in Virginia Carter's Bay Shop, my quick story of mine, I heard Bob Turley. We had 3 products, something called G10. If you read the book, Ed Williams Changed My Whole Life, you find out about G10. It's a deposit term product where they had to come up with, you want to buy a $50,000 policy, they had to come up with $500 up front or an extra $43 a month for the first year. And then we had a decreasing term, and then we had a annual renewable term. You made the most money on the deposit term. And I remember a guy named Ken, never mind, I forgot his last name. From the old days, he started our securities company. When we went in and sold a whole term policy, if the old agent came in and says, well, I got a cheap old term I can sell you. And we knew if we can always go back to annual renewable term, we could compete. He said, if I went in, I'm going to sell them an annual renewable term, make a little bit of money, better than nothing. I said, not me, I'll walk away. I'd walk away from that client. No, I don't negotiate on my price. And talk about that, Trevor, Ken Durham. Talk about that and how you cannot negotiate on your value and the price that you put in your mind that you're worth. And you're not going to go, it's not negotiable.
Yeah. So what's interesting is I remember it was the great David Lipset, right? I'm in San Antonio. I'm blessed to be around David Lipset. And he taught me something that I've been using for a long time. And he said, I'll tell a client, the minute you turn me into a salesman, our relationship is over, right? If I'm more interested in your financial success and I have to convince you that these things are good for you, I'm out of here. And I realized that at that point, I realized the value that I bring. And I have, I'll be honest, in Primerica, we're often grateful just to get a client. But the truth is, I'm at the point where I fire clients all the time. I have had clients that have been with me for years, and when they no longer listen to me, that means they don't understand the value I bring, right? Then we're done, right? And I have sent them to go find another financial advisor. I've worked with them for a long time, and so it's got to be this two-way relationship where they understand the value we provide, and then they understand that we're going to take care of them, right? But when they start negotiating and they want us to find something cheaper and they want us to search around, hey, that's when our relationship is over. And I've gotten rid of more clients in the last 10 years than you would ever believe, where they just don't listen to me anymore. And those are the ones that are a nightmare anyway, right? Because they're always challenging those things. And so it's not this negotiation. It's really this unwritten contract between us that, hey, I'm going to help you and you're going to respect my time and my value. And we're not going to be shopping around trying to negotiate. This is really how it works. And so we keep it, I keep it really, really simple. There is that value that we provide is really, it's hard to define what it really can be, but you know it when it's there, right? When you have that great client that's followed you all the way through. And I'm at the point now, I've been here a long time. I'm working with second and third generation clients. And so the people that have respected what I've done for a long time. But yeah, it's not, there's no negotiation in the process. For me, it's an all or nothing, right? If I have a client that I'm meeting with and I'm presenting term insurance to them and some retirement planning, and they say to me, hey, I don't want to do the term insurance, I just want to do the retirement planning, I just say, yeah, that's great. You need to find somebody who'll do that for you, because I'm not going to do it. Like, it's an all or nothing deal, right? We're all in this together, and I'm going to help you with everything. You're not going to go shop me on these other things. You're going to find somebody who's going to come and handle everything for you, and that's the relationship we're going to create. And so I walk away from clients on a regular basis, and sometimes we're just so happy to have someone that might say yes, that will do anything they say, and you don't want to be in that position, right? For me, it's all or nothing, Bill.
And we do that same thing. I'll buy your insurance, but I won't buy your mutual fund. I'll buy your mutual fund, but I won't buy your insurance. And so talk about that, Trevor, on how with new recruits, new people in your business, you help them overcome that when they think they ought to sell it the cheapest they can. I talk to people about, we got a no-load mutual fund if you want it, and we got a no-load life insurance policy. You don't make any money on it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So I squashed that early. So my dad had an experience back in the day, like when I was a young man, where he met with a family that we actually went to church with, and they talked about doing life insurance and doing some mutual funds. And there's a young family, and the guy looked at him and said, "Hey, I just don't know about the life insurance, but I want to do the mutual funds." And so my dad set up like a $50 pack for him. And a year and a half later, that guy died. And so instead of my dad delivering in the late 80s $150,000 check, he was redeeming like $680 from his mutual fund. And my dad learned that lesson the hard way. And he taught me, he said, never again, right? Like I will never do that again. And it was a young family, it was a freak accident and car accident, and he died. And it changed the way my dad thought. And so that's kind of one of the discussions as we're field training, as we're meeting with clients. I will share that example all the time. Like if I'm like, I'm not going to be responsible. I'm not going to be the man that shows up with $680 when I could have had $250,000. And so we're just clear from the very beginning. It's an all or nothing. We're going to take care of that. And look, our term insurance is better than anyone. It's cheaper is not better. Our term insurance is absolutely the best. Nobody has the features that we have. I mean, I was on the phone yesterday with the client, and I gave him a quote, and then we fired up a Zoom. We closed the life app, and it was $300,000 for $97, right? We finished the life app, and within a few minutes, for the same $300,000, he was approved for $66. Like, who does that? Like, there's no other company that if the client agreed to pay 97, that would come back and say, yeah, but we're going to only charge you 67. They gave him like a class 3 rating. Like, nobody would do that. Primerica is going to always do the right thing, right? We're not going to have gimmicks along the way. Our product is the best. Like, I own our product, right? That's what I've had forever, and I believe in our product. I've seen our company pay claims and do things that that other companies just would not have done. And so for me, it's all in. A new recruit's going to be all in, and it's really simple. Like, they might be cheaper. You might find somebody with the 20-year level term, and they might be slightly cheaper than us. But there is nobody that's cheaper than us at 21 years. You go to the end of term plus one renewal, and we destroy everybody, right? And so if you're worried about just the cost of that term insurance, you're missing the big picture, right? The big picture is, at the end of their term, 95% of people will not die during their term. They'll live beyond it. And then they've got to have some renewal options, right? We deal with a company down here in San Antonio that deals with a lot of military people. I'll spare the name. We won't say it. But they sell that cheap insurance, right? It's super cheap, right? But you get to year 21, and on a $250,000 premium, their premiums are $50,000 a year, right? When it gets in that renewal, and oh, by the way, they have no renewal options in year 21. It's take it or leave it. And Primerica, we're going to do the right thing. We're going to give them a renewal option that works. Our term insurance, you got a brother-in-law that's got a cheap term policy, Minnesota Life, whatever, I'll whoop it. You show it to me, and I'm going to show you the value, right? You take it out beyond that renewal, and we end up beating it every single time. And so you just gotta help people understand that from the very beginning. And I say it with confidence. I believe it. And so when I'm talking to somebody and they got a cheap term insurance, we replaced one just the other day. The guys, he's paying like $167, and with us, he's paying $290. Why would you pay $130 more with us, right? And he's the one that figured it out. He looked at the renewal rates on his farmer's policy. He had 3 years left, and in 3 years, his premium goes to like $8,000, something ridiculous. And so he was willing to pay an additional $130 a month with us right now to have level term insurance along the way. So cheaper is not better. Primerica is always better. Our term is always better when you look at it through the right lens. You go 1 year beyond, and we beat them on price anyway, but the value we add, the customer service that we have in there, the stability of our company, we win every single time. I don't have any issues with that. Our term insurance is going to win.
And on top of that, Dad, and Trevor, well said, who do you want delivering a death claim?
Yeah.
A non-Primerica rep, they can't do anything. They're going to try to put that crap into, some crappy annuity, whole life policy. They're not going to be directing these people on how to make that money last forever. I mean, the average widow runs out of money in 3 years. or sooner because they don't have anybody to talk to. They need that guidance. Who do you want delivering that death claim check?
Yeah,
You want us. You want a Trevor Bush.
yeah,
Right?
Patrick. Other companies deliver a death claim through the United States Postal Service, right? They drop the check in the mail and send it to the client and say, good luck figuring it out. And what you want is that value that we provide where you walk into their home and you give them hope. Like, it's going to be okay. Like, let's figure out the best thing to do with this money. You work with another company, they're going to drop it in the mail. It's going to be delivered by your mail carrier. And so in Primerica, we personally deliver those policies. We personally deliver those claims, and it's bigger than just the life insurance that we're dealing with.
Patrick, you want to make a comment on the transition that needs to be made and the thinking that has to occur starting now with people that are selling their time too cheaply? You have to decide, I'm worth it. You know, what I did one time, Trevor, I was on an airplane and I saw the pilot and I started thinking, look at his credentials. He probably got 10,000 hours in the air. That's why he's captain. And yeah, I want him there. And I said, write down all the hours you've spent learning your trade, learning your craft in fast start schools and getting your license and getting your Series 6 and getting your Series 63. And the hours, Patrick, that you put on with the calls with the money managers and all the time. And it is thousands of hours of investment just to be able to sit down with somebody and say, okay, how many hours do you have? And it's zero. They have zero, you have 2,000-3,000 hours. Talk about that, Patrick. You got to put it into perspective. You've paid your dues, you've earned it. Now you gotta be worth your time.
Yeah, you gotta have that mental swagger that you're talking about. That you do know your worth. I remember the moment I started having that, and my income, I think at that moment it was shot like from 33,000 a year to income to 60 in the next like 12 months. Just because I had that mental swagger, and then that helped me jet up to even better things in this business. But the mental swagger was what you talked about. I was willing to walk away from a client where if they were saying stupid stuff, they weren't saying things. And I love what Trevor talked about with Dave Lipsett. Don't treat me like a salesman, right? When I realized they don't know who they're talking to, I'm God sent to their house. No one else is coming behind me. And they start saying dumb stuff to me, which is, asking questions that are blowing me off or saying they want to do it their way. Like, and an example of that for me was I sat down with a guy and people just say, well, I don't think I need life insurance for reasons X, Y, and Z. I don't want to buy any from you. And I used to be like, oh, well, crap, what do I say next? Right. Or how am I going to overcome this objection? Well, I never overcome the objection. What I did was I said, well, listen, what you're telling me is your wife is not worth the coverage that you guys need. So, because I've got, the amount of coverage you need is the amount of coverage I'm paying for right now. So what you're telling me is I'm wasting my money on life insurance coverage. No, you're not. No, you're not wasting your life. Your family needs that. So why does my family need it and your family doesn't? When you start playing hardball with people and you don't act like you don't handle them with kid gloves, and you get, not that you're angry, but man, you let them know they're saying some dumb stuff, right? Or you're like my dad said, I'm willing to walk away if they say the wrong things versus I need a sale, I need to recruit, I need to get something on a board. You will see your numbers go up when you're willing to walk away. More people are going to say yes because they know they're dealing with a professional and someone who really cares about what they do and they know their value. This is why so many people pay so much more for guys that have just an ounce of confidence when they talk about what they do versus those that seem to beg. All right. And when you don't have that confidence, you don't have that mental swagger, you come across as begging. All right. And when you know your value, and like I love what Trevor said, hey, if I'm spending time away from my family, I'm making money. And that's your mindset. I'm here tonight. I'm in front of you. I'm making money some way, somehow by bettering your financial life. That's that mindset that needs to happen with anybody and everybody. And that's going to bless you financially. And if you have any hangups with that, any buts about it, you're going to struggle just a little bit longer by not making what you want to make and what you deserve to get paid.
Yeah. So Bill, just to add one thing that you had asked me earlier about helping a new recruit understand, sometimes our policies are not the cheapest. We often put those roadblocks in our own way, right? We're dealing with the client, and I've done this before where we're preparing kind of a carry back, and the proposal is going to be $170 a month for their life insurance, and my new rep sitting next to me is like, man, that's just expensive. And I'm like, based on what? Right? When we have that challenge, it's because we don't have our own house in order. Yeah, I think I pay $700 a month for my life insurance. So I don't have an issue presenting life insurance to somebody. It's going to cost them $180. Like
Right.
that's cheap. I would love that. Right? My family's taken care of first. And if you're struggling with the premiums, it's because you haven't put your own house in order. Right? And you're not in a place, and that's also true on the investment side, right? The irony of our business. Look, I'm not the smartest guy, but I have access to really smart people, and I do a good job of the practical application of investments, right? We do a lot of investments. I've got about closing in on $150 million in assets under management. But the irony is that business, the investment business, the retirement planning, is the one thing that the average ordinary person will try to do in their spare time. Like, we would never come home and say, man, I'm going to do my own dental work, right? I'm going to be my own physical therapist. I'm going to, like no one's going to be their own mechanic anymore. Like, my dad used to do that when, he'd take his car apart and put it together on a weekend. And now you can't do that, right? Like, we don't do that. We don't fix our own computers. Half of us don't even mow our own lawn. We want somebody else to do that. But yet we think we can work full time, in corporate America, and then come home, and on the weekends, we're going to become this financial guru and know how to plan our retirement. Right. That is something that I talk about with my clients all the time. I'm going to take you where you can't take yourself. You do not have the expertise by going on to Google to understand what I'm going to present to you. In retrospect, this is what Bill was saying about all the qualifications with the pilot. Do you know how many hours that I've spent over my career with fund managers, with Invesco wholesalers, with Lincoln wholesale, with people who help me understand how to apply these products to people's lives? You can't get on the internet and learn what I've learned over the last 20 something years. And so that's that value that I'm bringing. And only a fool would try to do his retirement, which is so important, based on his knowledge that he's getting off of the internet. And a lot of people think that that's what they're going to do these days, especially a younger generation. But a wise person quickly figures out that they can't handle that. Like, I'm not going to fly the plane, Bill. If they gave me the opportunity, I get in there. I'm not qualified to do that, but yet somehow most people will try to wing it when it comes to their retirement. And so you've got to create and establish those rules of this is your role of what you're going to do when it comes to retirement. This is my role. And that's where that value is really created, because there's nobody that sits across from me at a table, no potential client, that by the time we're done thinks they know more about investing than I do. And I've become a professional on that side. My language skills are correct. Like, I'm going to use the correct terminology. There's no way they're going to think that they're going to do a better job than what I'm doing, because I recognize my value and I've done it for a long time. I have all that energy in, and I tell them straight up that I'm going to provide that value, that I'm taking places they can't take themselves.
I learned years ago, Trevor, to tell people no one can come behind me and do a better job for you than I'm doing. Nobody. Yep. I'm the best there is in this city or in this state. And I say it for they need to have confidence in me because I have confidence in myself. So Trevor, talk about how most people that don't think they're bringing value, they sell themselves short in the market they work. With people they feel superior to, and not people that they think are above them.
Yeah, I mean, we see that all the time. In San Antonio, there's an area of San Antonio called Stone Oak, and it's right in the north central. It's a very affluent area, and people talk about that. They want to live in that area, they want to be there. And the truth is, I won't even work in that area because those people are so broke they can't pay attention. Right? They're house poor. They've got 3 or 4 cars in their driveway, and so this perception of people and how successful they are is really skewed. And in Primerica, we've got to understand that, because what happens is, as a brand new rep, we go into that environment, we get an appointment in that area, and we think, oh, these people are smarter than us, they know more than us, and we become timid in that process. And we've got to recognize, if I take a brand new recruit and he spends the first 90 days with me and we're on 10 appointments, he knows more about finances than anybody else, right? Anybody in his market that he goes and sees. And we set our own limitations on what we think based on how people look. And the truth is you get in there and you see a mess. Those are the people that have like 9 credit cards, right? Because they're trying to live in that lifestyle and do that. And it's kind of this crazy perception. We got to recognize that the education that you're going to get from your field trainer here in Primerica, and when I say that, I mean your field trainer, you're on appointments. When you see how people are truly living financially, and you see that 10, 12, 15 times, you're going to understand and know more about the American financial system and how families are living, and your confidence is going to grow in that process, Bill. And so we just got to recognize that they need us more than we need them. Like we have the cookie, right? Like they're going to benefit from us being in their home. And that's the value that we provide, and we deserve to get paid for that process. And we often go in as Primerica reps with our hands out thinking, oh, we would be so lucky if they would do business with us. And I think it's reverse. I've shared this before. When my last child was born, I have 5. When my last child was born, she's now 10. I literally shut down my business. I stopped all organized trainings and everything. And I spent 5 years focusing on just my family and my children. And then that youngest went to school and we said, oh, well, we better get back to work or we're home alone. We'll end up having another baby. Right. So we saw the urgency to get back to work. But it was during that 5-year period where I was not prospecting. I was not looking for new clients, that I really began to understand the value of that I bring to individual clients. My business during that time, Bill, exploded because clients were calling me and saying, hey, Trevor, I know that you're taking a little bit of a break to focus on your family, but would you please meet with my brother-in-law? And it became this amazing thing where I think I truly understood my value. When I was young in the business, in my mind, I understood the value, but I don't think I really had that confidence. And it was when I decided to not take on any new clients that they were coming. It was almost like they were begging me. And I'm like, this is the way Primerica is supposed to be. And we spend so much time begging people to meet with us. And in reality, we have the cookie. Like they need us. And we've got to change that mentality, right? And so that was an important phase of my business that helped me develop into what I am today and the freedoms that I enjoy.
Well, I see this. Whenever Cheryl Bartlett said, never come to me and tell me how great the recruit is. He was Mr. All this and she was Mr. All that. You got to be telling your recruit how great I am.
Yeah.
I hate that. Do you ever have recruits say, oh, Fred here, he's all American. He was the smartest guy. And they're bragging on him in front of you. And this guy, if it has not earned anything near what you earned. Talk about that, Trevor. We're going to have Patrick make a comment and then give us the final word, Trevor. Comment on that.
Yeah, so I love, I tell people that Primerica is really easy for me now, right? Because when I go into an appointment, I'm going in as the expert, right? So if I'm field training someone, they're walking in that door, they have built me up so high, if I'm field training somebody, that it's just an easy business at that point, right? And if I'm going to see a referral from a client, they've normally called me. And so they already have this amazing picture of what I can do and how I've helped somebody else, right? And that's how every appointment should be, right? If you're joining the business and trying to field train and wanting to be field trained, you should spend time telling the person you're going to go see how great your field trainer, Patrick Arender, is. You would not believe what Patrick can do. He's amazing. Like he's going to add such great value to what you need. It's just going to make that experience and that process much easier. And we've got to be more vocal and more honest about that. And it's true, right? It's not a lie. It's not sales, right? It's true. Patrick is going to create great value to these people as he gets in their home. And so there's got to be a little bit of that time. And I'm in the easy phase. Every appointment I go on right now is one where the client has called me, the potential client has called me and asked me to come see them because I've helped somebody they know and love. Or I'm field training one of my reps who had all the credibility and set the appointment, and I just show up as the expert, right? And then they love me in that process, and they look at me and like it's really good. And they're like, man, Trevor, you're amazing. I said, no, it was your credibility
Right.
and you building me up that made that happen. And I'm not good, I'm boring. I do the same thing over and over and over again. It was your relationship with this person and your ability to convince them that I'm smarter than I am that made it work. Right. And so I think that's important that as we're field training, that the person setting that appointment builds you up to that level to where there is an expectation, because that person we're going to see needs us. They need our help. They're going to benefit from what we do. And so we've got to flip that, right? I'm not interested really, I am interested in who they are so I can understand how to help them. But I know that I'm bringing value the minute I get to their kitchen table. And it's just a matter of, for me, it's a puzzle. What is the value I'm going to bring today into this person's home that's going to make them want me to come back and help them over and over and over again?
Patrick,
sorry, Dad. That's well said, because and here's how I translate that into Primerica talk even more directly, is that how in the world are you going to have credibility with somebody if they're not even a client yet? You're trying to get them to take them to you want them to take you to their warm market, but they're not even a client yet. Right? You're wondering why you don't have any premium being written in your base shop. You're wondering why they're not taking you to see their best friends, because they don't see the value of what you do or how good you are, because they're not a client yet. Right? Or you're saying, hey, start posting, but they haven't even seen what you do yet. Or you're saying, this is my own little personal deal. Primerica is a best friends business. R. Williams never would have taken anybody into the field if they weren't a client. You're wondering why people aren't buying into the system. They don't even know what it is that we do. They don't know how magical it is. One of my best recruits is a buddy, Kent McKeag. Every field training point we went on, he brought his F&A with him, printed out. And he said, look at this. This is absolutely amazing. You think that made me look brilliant? People who are already clients, right? I won't take anybody into the field. And does it slow things down? Yes. But I don't take anybody in the field who's not a client. Why should I? They're just going to jeopardize the system. They can't cheerlead me as a leader. They don't know how great I am. And they're not going to have a personal story of transformation about what we were able to do for them. Convinced people convince people. And, you're trying to show people what we do through field training them by recruiting other people, but they're not even clients yet. Right. That's how that translates to me. You want to look great in front of the people, make sure they're a client first. Right. It'll slow it down just a little bit, but man, the amount of explosion you're going to have because they believe in what we do. They're a crusader. They stand for it. And then when their friend says, I'm not interested, they think they're nuts. Why? Because they know what we bring to the table.
Yeah. I just made a quick note. Yeah, I just made a quick note on that, Patrick. I think that's awesome. Like when I'm field training somebody, here's what I say to everybody. If I'm recruiting you, Patrick, I'll say this, Patrick. I'll say, Patrick, the truth is, I don't know if you'll be good at our business, but you don't either. So let's try. See, let's use your credibility and my expertise to go see people and figure out whether or not this thing is for you. But what I like what you just said that I'm going to add is we're going to use your credibility, my expertise, and your personal story to see whether or not this worked for you, right? I think that's a good piece to the puzzle, right? Because you bring the credibility. I tell everyone, I say, hey, Patrick, does your mama live here in San Antonio? You say, yeah. And I said, look, if I knock on her door, is she letting me in? And they go, no, because we don't. And I'm like, not because I look scary, right? I'm not scary looking. I'm not intimidating looking, right? But she doesn't know me, and that's our society. But Patrick, if you and I go together, do we even have to knock, or do we just open the door and go sit at the table? Right? We just open the door and we sit at the table. So it's your credibility that will get me in the door. It's my expertise on how to apply the products and services we offer to somebody's financial life and help them. But it's also going to be your personal story of the way that I've personally helped you that's going to add to the credibility and expertise that's going to make that work. So your credibility, my expertise, and your personal story is what's really going to make this work. And if you and I go see 10 people, one of two things are going to happen. Either you're going to fall in love with this and say, man, I love this. I want to do this forever. Show me how to do it, Trevor. Or you're going to say, man, I don't really like it. And at that point, go away, right? You got your license, but go away. I don't want you doing something you don't like, but let's go figure it out. So your credibility, my expertise, and your personal story. That was brilliant.
Trevor, thank you very much. This was wonderful. You brought a lot of value, Patrick. You brought a lot of value. We all have to go through that, Patrick, every one of us. And then we start making money. Again, how many appointments do you go on where you don't make money, Trevor?
Oh, 0. I won't do it.
Patrick? Why
Nope.
recruit somebody doesn't have credibility? Why recruit somebody who doesn't have a good market? Other than you don't feel like you've got value, and you're inhibited from being bold. And so we got the cookie. I love what you said, Trevor. All right, everyone. God bless. God willing, we'll see you next week. Thank you very much, Trevor and Patrick. See you next week, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Everybody, good job, Trevor. Thanks, Dad.
Thanks, Patrick.